All right, we are ready for the final video. And in this final video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can delete a sheet from our list. And in this is where things are going to get kind of complicated. First of all, I only want to delete if we have more than one thing. So only delete if we have more than one thing, right? If we have more than one player sheet, right? So I'm going to say if player sheet or player list, sorry, count is greater than 0, then if the player count is greater than 0, then we're going to delete it. Okay, so. And I'm going to put one more thing. I'm also going to say and current sheet is not equal to 0. So and the reason I'm doing this is if our current sheet is 0, we're going to do almost exactly the same thing, but just slightly different. So, and I'm going to handle that with an else if. So if the player sheet, if we have more than one sheet, then we can delete it, right? So what we'll say is we're going to say, well, the current sheet is, I'm going to subtract 1 from the current sheet. I'm really going to move backwards 1. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to say I need to remove the current sheet. And it's actually relatively easier. I can say player list, current sheet. Well, I'm not even going to say current sheet. Sorry. We're going to work with the player list. Sorry, I've been making these videos all day. We're gonna delete something from the player list, and because we use the list created by the folks at Microsoft, we actually can use the various methods they've created. We've used count and add, but there's a lot more in here. In fact, if I try to guess the name, I would guess remove. And here you can see we have 4 different ways to remove. You can say remove, remove all, which will wipe it out. We don't want that. Remove at. And remove at, we can give it an index. If we just type remove, we have to give it an actual object, and it's going to remove the first time you get an object that matches that one. But I'm going to remove at. Remove can be a little tricky, so we're going to remove at. And we're going to remove the current thing. So we're going to remove at our current index. And that should work. Now, the way we've written this, we cannot remove the first sheet in the list. And we'll deal with that in just a second. So if we run this, I can change this guy to be AA1. We'll update, add a sheet, BB2, update, add a sheet, CC3, update, add a sheet, DD4, update, add a sheet, and now I'm going to go remove something. Let's say we want to remove sheet 2. Let's see if this works. I'm going to click delete sheet, and you can see it changed me to sheet A, but let's check. Yep, we're going from A to C, and we skip over B because the B was removed. And you can see now we only have 4 sheets. And if I add another sheet, BB2, we'll update here. We can now see, maybe BB2 is the wrong one. I'll do EE5. FF6. And now we can kind of see that we have 6 sheets here. When we hit delete, we can see that we're down by 1, so we have 5. We delete the sheet, we're down by 1 to 4. We're at sheet 1, so if I try to delete it, nothing will happen. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to add some code so we can delete sheet 1. Of course, I need to be careful to not allow to not allow all the sheets to be deleted, because I always want one sheet to be displayed. I mean, there are some other things to do. So, all right, let's see. If that happens, I'm going to say else if, well, I'm going to say player list count is greater than 0 and current sheet equals 0. I mean, if it's not, if this one wasn't true, then this one, I probably don't need the second half, but I'm being a little bit explicit so that if somebody else reads the code, they sort of understand what's going on. This is not going to cost a lot of time. If you need your program to be more efficient, I guess you could remove it, but I would only do that if you need to. All right, so if we're at sheet 1, and we know we have multiple things, I think we can just remove the current sheet, and we'll keep the index 0, so it'll move to the next one. So we'll just now start removing the 0th sheet. So let's see how this works. In fact, we probably didn't even need the minus minus here. The only reason I did it is to make sure we don't go beyond the end. If I did not have the minus minus in the previous one, so if I didn't have current sheet minus minus, if I was on sheet number 5 of 5 and I deleted it, I would still have the index for sheet 5 even though there are only 4 sheets. So having minus minus forces me to be in the correct range. So I mean, you can obviously change this and do it slightly differently. All right, so let's try again real quick. A1 update, B2 update. Sorry. We're gonna add a new sheet. Make sure that's still A1 sheet 2. Sorry, B2 update and a new sheet. CC3 update and a new sheet. D and 4. I'm gonna stop here. And maybe just one more, because all right. So now we have 5 sheets, right? We go around to sheet number 1. If this is the only sheet I want to delete, I should be able to click delete, and it disappeared. We went from 5 to 4, which is good. If I want to remove another one, we're down to 3. And you can see I go from C, D to the final one. So it looks like everything here is working. Delete 2, delete 1. Oh, I got a message box saying the current sheet is 0. So I must have done something to make this, I don't even remember where I put the M box. But I'm trying to delete sheet 0, and somehow I triggered, I think what it is down here. Okay, so somehow I maybe did delete it. Let's see. So I think what might have happened is I got that error, which I should not have got. And I think that this should be greater than 1. Because if we only, yeah, that's right. So the player list count should be greater than 1. If we have, in the first one, it's sort of protected because it wouldn't let us delete if it was 0. But in the second if statement, it allowed us to delete 0. So we have to change this to a 1 so that if we're at sheet number 0, if we only have one sheet left, then of course we're going to be at sheet 0, and we don't want to delete sheet 0 if it's the only sheet. So that's kind of what I'm saying here. So if we have more than one sheet and it's 0, then we're going to remove it. Otherwise, we don't do anything, so I ignore that. So let's try this one more time. Let's populate this with sheets. I'm not even going to name them. We have 4 sheets, as you can see up here. We'll delete 4, 3, 2, 1. And when I try it again, okay, this time we do not get the error of trying to go to a sheet that doesn't actually exist. So we're not trying to we don't even, when we come to this display current sheet, we don't have an error. All right, so I think this is the final video for describing how to create everything we need for this program for the first project. We've talked about how we can update our information in the list from the buttons. We can add a new character sheet. We can go forward and backwards through the sheets. We can delete sheets. And we've come up with some interesting ways to display them to make sure everything is working fine. So at this point, we have a relatively maybe not well designed, but a working program that could use improvement. Maybe I'd want to have the sheets up here. If you wanted to have a different update button for each of these boxes, we could look at the first box for the name, and we could have an update name, and it'd be very similar to this update box, but it would only have the code related to the name. So there's a few different ways you can design this program. I hope that you do a good job on the project, and I'm gonna finish the video here. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope this is useful to you. Oops, no, wrong.